Yeah. I've always wanted to do a live show with zero prep and just get on here and rip. So I guess this is our chance, Rob,
For
right?
better or for worse, here we are. And you're stuck with us if you're watching. So watch at your own risk.
Yes, watch at your own risk. We've done no prep for this, and we've not reached any conclusions. But the big breaking news politically all over the country right now, honestly, the entire country is on fire about this. I have not seen so much activity on X on any political topic not involving Trump directly for a very long time. And to say the Democrats are super, super stoked about the idea that Sherrod Brown is jumping into this U.S. Senate race against Jon Husted. Oh my gosh, they like their chances.
I mean, I think they've got a lot of reasons to be excited about this. I mean, if for Democrats to be excited, I mean, not only has he been there before, he's won several state elections for that office. Just got beat 2 years ago. No, it wasn't even 2 years ago. It was just last year.
Right.
And so, he's still fresh in everybody's mind. He still has a lot of loyal base up in Northeast Ohio, a lot of places that, quite frankly, Republicans just need to win. So that's going to play to Sherrod Brown's hand in this upcoming election, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm. If there's one thing I have heard from gun owners, pro-gun Democrats over the years since we started Ohio Gun Owners was that when it came to Sherrod Brown, they may not like him on guns, but they'd have a beer with him. And I'll tell you, one person in this race, there's two people in this race. One person in this race does not have a reputation of being the kind of guy that you'd want to go have a beer with. And that's Jon Husted. And that's a big fat problem if you're trying to get elected to the U.S. Senate. So, like you said, and we're in just a few minutes, we're gonna bounce over to the OGO Facebook page, and we're gonna read through some of these comments because I think it's very interesting what we're seeing, the discussion that we're seeing over there. But I think you've just got a couple of natural ingredients that are going in Sherrod Brown's favor. Now, I want people to be clear. Don't hear what I'm not saying right now. I'm not saying go out there and vote for Sherrod Brown. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm doing is we're going to be talking in descriptive terms here for the next for during this live stream. We're not going to be talking in prescriptive terms. We're just stating some facts, and we want some feedback from you guys. So jump into the comment section and number one, tell us where you're checking in from, and number two, if you have questions or thoughts or comments, we'll probably pop them up right here on the live stream. But so you have a guy who has won statewide office many times. Right? How many times has he won for U.S. Senate? When was he first? Didn't he beat DeWine to get?
Yeah, I think he did
get in 2006.
I think it was 6. Yep.
Yeah, 2006. So this guy has won 6-year terms 3 times.
Yep.
So he doesn't have to build up any name ID. Right? Yeah, he's probably universally known by the Democrat base. He is, if there's one thing we're going to see in the OGO Facebook page, is this guy went to DC and made himself personally rich, which means that he has the phone numbers of all of the big DC lobby shops that fund his campaign with millions and millions and millions. He's going to have unlimited amounts of money. Unlimited. My guess is the Ohio U.S. Senate race there'll be so much money spent in this thing that it will look like presidential level spending from just 20 years ago.
I agree. There's a lot at stake. Two heavy hitters are going at it. I mean, the balance of U.S. Senate is up for grabs. I mean, just like it always is. But, this election will determine whether or not President Trump is a lame duck this November or next November or not.
Right.
On November, I don't know what the exact day of the election is next year, but whether he's a lame duck the next day or not,
Right.
So there's a lot riding on this for everybody.
There is a whole lot riding on this, which, for the longest time we were hearing here at Ohio Gun Owners, and I was hearing this personally all over the place, is that Sherrod Brown was making phone calls He was making fundraising phone calls to run for governor. And I thought, you know what? That'd probably be a good swan song for him. If I was Sherrod Brown, I would probably go for that. You have midterms, and this is one of the other ingredients to get back to that list. Kind of midterms historically go well for the party that is not in the White House. In other words, this time around, it's going to be it would very likely go well for Democrats. So if I'm Sherrod Brown, I'm sitting there and I don't have an obvious approach on the U.S. Senate seat that I just lost, the previous election, then I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, this might be a good time for me to finally get executive power, which, the Ohio governor is very powerful.
Yeah.
So you got midterms that don't look very good for Republicans. And we've got like the Wisconsin Supreme Court race that happened last March as evidence of that. We've got some special elections in Republican state legislative districts around the country for the last 6 months that have not gone our way very well. It just seems like the environment might be there for Democrats to make some surprising gains. So
and we're about to see, aren't we about to see Virginia's got an election issue, right?
Yes.
So will it be the canary in the coal mine? I guess we'll find out very shortly in the next couple months. But there's definitely some trends that are alarming, trending that direction. So it's going to be big. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I heard that Sherrod Brown was making these phone calls, and then the rooster, the famous rooster from X, the rooster on X, he's how do you describe Rooster, the rooster? I've had several conversations. He's the chief antagonist of many Republicans, and this pains me to say it, but he's the chief antagonist of many Republicans at the Ohio State House because he's always there with his camera on, and he's advocating for the left. Okay. He's using the First Amendment to his fullest, and he advocates for the policies of the left. We use the First Amendment to its fullest to advocate for policies on the right. But at least the one thing that I can respect about him is that he's consistent in pushing for his worldview. But the rooster broke this story on Twitter or X, and he had been given an inside scoop by somebody, and somebody told him that Chuck Schumer, the #1 Democrat in D.C., the U.S. Senator from New York, was in the Short North at, I forget the name of the restaurant, having dinner with Sherrod Brown and his wife. And so the rooster gets on his bike, because he bikes everywhere, and he bikes down to this restaurant. He blows right into the restaurant, snaps a picture, and gets proof that Chuck Schumer is sitting there having dinner with Sherrod Brown. There's only one reason why a guy like Chuck Schumer is going to fly out to Columbus, Ohio, sit down in the Short North District and have dinner with Sherrod Brown. That is to try to convince him to run for the U.S. Senate. So, and that happened twice. I think that the rooster broke that story. Which means that Chuck Schumer has probably been out here more times than that to convince Sherrod Brown to run for the U.S. Senate, which means he rolled into that meeting with polling. He rolled into that meeting with with donor dollar numbers. We're going to spend this much in this race, all kinds of stuff to convince Sherrod Brown, which means that they think they have a chance to win.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty scary. I don't think they could have fielded a better candidate than Sherrod Brown to try to take out Jon Husted.
Well, and if it's any year, it's going to be 2026. I mean, so it's just like the perfect storm of everything that the Democrats would want. The candidate and the environment, the political environment that will. I mean, granted, who knows what things are going to be like next year? We can't.
That's
predict.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe something will happen.
Different. Yeah,
it could be totally different. But as it stands right now, it's looking like a good mixture for these Democrats to make a play there.
Yeah. For example, nobody could have foreseen Butler coming except for the few people that orchestrated it in the program. Never mind, we won't go down that road. But so that's the one side. I think they have a very strong candidate in Sherrod Brown. If you guys have comments on this, jump into the comments section. Let us know. We'll pop them up and interact with them live. But let's talk about Jon Husted, because we've had interactions with Jon Husted over the years. Pardon me, I need to cough. I'm getting over a stupid cold. So Jon Husted, as the lieutenant governor under DeWine, again, we can go back to 2018 when Jon Husted was running for governor against Mike DeWine. They were in a Republican primary. Jon Husted drops out of the race, endorses DeWine, says, I'm going to become your chief proponent. I'll become your lieutenant governor, and I will sing your praises, and I will be your loyal servant until your last day. That's the deal that was made. And man, we saw some bad stuff, didn't we, Rob?
Yeah, we have. We've seen some pretty bad stuff.
Yeah.
From that administration.
Yeah. So August 4 of 2019, bad morning. It was early in the morning, Sunday morning, August 4, 2019. And that whatever his name is from the Dayton area. Dang it wasn't by Spring Valley, because I was living in Spring Valley at the time. Next town over. He goes up there into the Dayton, Oregon district and murders a bunch of people. And then Jon Husted stood right there next to not just Mike DeWine, but he stood right there next to Nan Whaley and called for a massive gun control package in response to the Dayton shooting. I mean, that's it's very hard for us to remember that, to forget that, I should say, because we had to go to absolute war to stop the strong Ohio gun control package from passing the General Assembly.
Yep. And not once, but I think several bills in each chamber. I think, there were a couple different bills in each chamber, a couple different years. So, and that movement didn't even really die out till, what was it, Chris? Was it last introduced in 22? Did Dolan last introduce a bill in 22?
I think so.
They had tried that for many years. Leading up to then, and so we had to fight them. We fought them hard. Our members fought hard for years, to try to stop red flags essentially from becoming law.
And what's more, it wasn't just a red flag push.
Oh yeah.
When they first came out with it at the press conference, DeWine listed off all kinds of things like assault weapons bans, whatever the hell that means. He wanted to ban magazines more than 10 rounds. He wanted the entire thing. And it was Jon Husted who came up with the seller's protection certificate, which was statewide gun registration. So you got Husted wanting red flag gun confiscation. You got him, up there talking about statewide gun registration. And it had liability stuff. And you remember this, Rob? It had a liability clause in it that if you sold a gun to somebody else and that person didn't, and you didn't get a seller's protection certificate, you had liability if the person you sold the firearm to went out and murdered somebody.
Right.
I mean, and it at the very bare minimum, it opened the door wide open to letting you as the seller be sued if you did not go out there and get one of those seller's protection certificates.
Not only that, but it was a big data collection scheme.
Yes.
I mean, think of all the information that would be on those certificates. They try to get names and addresses and probably all kinds of stuff, social security numbers,
for sure,
serial numbers of the buyer and the seller, the firearms involved. I mean, this was totally a government operation to control the whole game and lead to a path of total universal registration of all firearms. And then ultimately we know that leads to confiscation later, just like it has in every single, third world dictatorship, communist, state, whatever.
You bet.
So, this was, it was serious stuff. This bill was serious. And talking about Husted, I remember, Chris, when I was just a lowly staffer working for the late great, rest in peace, Ron Hood. And I would go to some events on his behalf in the district. I remember one time being in Hocking County at the lovely Old Dutch restaurant. If you're ever down there in Logan, you got to go to the Old Dutch.
Get some chicken.
Get the chicken. It's amazing. But I remember Jon Husted there. He was the keynote speaker at one of these events, and I can't remember. It might have been 2020. I'm not sure the exact date, but he was there trying to sell the Republican Party down there on this gun control package. So he was the guy.
So he stood there next to him, but then also went out and used shoe leather to try to promote this thing around the state.
He was used. He was the gun control guy that DeWine was sending around to try to garner support for his gun control. 100%.
Lieutenant Gun Control, Jon Husted. Lieutenant Gun Control. I don't know. We've all made mistakes in life. I mean, I know I sure have screwed up a lot in my life. I think the best thing that this guy and his campaign team can do right now, especially when you see somebody like Sherrod Brown jump into the race with probably 50, 75 million bucks going to be spent on him. I don't know. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I would do if I'm Jon Husted is I would go out and say, you know what? I need to apologize to gun owners. On one of the biggest things I've ever screwed up in my life. It was that would go so freaking far. That would go so far. I guarantee that Sherrod Brown's going to be going around, and at least not maybe from the official campaign, but from low-level staffers and stuff, repeddling his old NRA endorsements and stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's that kind of humility, that kind of that we just don't see, really.
It's real.
It's real. Yes. And I absolutely agree. I do think that needs to happen. DeWine, or I'm sorry, Freudian slip. Husted, I think needs to do that. Because gun owners aren't going to,
well,
it was only just a couple years ago.
Speaking of gun owners, I asked a question just a little bit ago. I wanted to see what gun owners' reaction was to this. So I'm just going to pop it up here. This is the question I posed on OGO's Facebook page just a few minutes ago, a little bit ago. And Sherrod Brown versus Jon Husted, what do you think? And this is where it gets a little bit concerning. This is where you start to see problems.
You're right.
First comment by Brenda says both are crap. Brown is worse. Now, let's just say that's where the sentiment ends. Let's say that was the only comment there. That's problematic. Because you don't need people who are like, I'm gonna hold my nose and just vote for him, because you know what's happening right now in America? There is a massive shift happening, especially with younger male voters, to where they are done. They are absolutely done with the idea that we are going to just simply hold our nose and vote for the status quo, which ultimately puts us in the same dumpster fire, just at a slower rate. And we saw this in massive numbers. There's been huge articles and studies and statistics done on this now, how that vote was pivotal in delivering all these swing vote states for Donald Trump in the 2024 elections. So both are crap. So that right out of the gate is like, oh my gosh, that's not good. Punt, says Tom, doesn't want to answer the question. Dan Giles, and we're going to see a lot of this. Husted, because I could never vote for Sherwood. Not Brown. Husted, Brown is worthless, always was. Rebel Bat Dave says, what's Moreno doing? Well, Moreno doesn't have an election this time, so he isn't
right.
Any person running against Brown, not Sherrod Brown. I'd vote for Mickey Mouse before Brown. Sharon who? So there's a lot of this. A lot of people are just like, okay, yeah, let's vote. Whoever Sherrod Brown is running against, that's who I'm voting for.
But what's missing, Chris, are people that are people that are saying, 100%, I'm all in for Husted, like go Husted, like I'm all in, there's none of that.
That's it exactly.
And when you're in an off-year election like this, as a candidate, you have to have enthusiasm. You have to have a reason to bring people to the polls to vote for you. There has to be some kind of excitement factor involved.
That's it. That's it. And when you're talking a multi-million dollar operation on both sides, dozens and dozens of millions of dollars being unleashed, this thing could very well come down to the wire. It very likely will come down to the margins. And if you're talking about the margins, it's the people who are going to vote for somebody instead of voting against somebody who have the greater likelihood of winning. So great point there. Let's keep rolling down through these for a second here. Brandon says, not addressing policy and substance or 2A support, but I've had discussions with both, and Sherrod Brown is a much stronger campaigner. Watch out, says Brandon.
Yeah, I think he's proven that over his, 3 or 4 election victory in the past.
Yeah, and you can see I actually jumped in there. So that's a very accurate assessment. That is just very spot on. You can say whatever you like or don't like about Sherrod Brown, but everybody, even on the Republican side, will say that Sherrod Brown is a master campaigner. And one of the comments that I saw in the last elections, and I think it's coming later on here, was that Sherrod Brown didn't even come to my county. And that's what he was. That's what some of the people were saying, that he only went to like the top 15 different counties. And let me see if I can find one of those here. Okay, yeah. Ron Yoder says Brown won 12 of 88 counties in the last election that he won in 2018 against an unknown. We never saw him in the other 76 counties. That's not necessarily a bad strategy. In fact, if you're looking to get the majority of the votes, and the majority of Democrat voters live in those counties, that's exactly where Sherrod Brown should be campaigning.
Right. And he's not going to waste his time in the areas. He's not going to
go to Vinton County.
Exactly. Right. Yep.
No, there's no point.
Yep.
That's not where his voters are. He's going to find his voters, and he is a very good campaigner. Let me drop. Okay, it's still up there.
Neither.
See?
I see neither. Yep.
Yeah, that's the problem. Whichever one is the strongest in support of our 2A rights. So Jim Coombe says that's Husted. He has an A+ rating from the NRA. Brown was an F. I don't know where you're getting that from, Jim Coombe.
Yeah, I thought he had a better rating than that.
And I don't know what an NRA A+ rating from is. That
That's true. What does that mean?
Where did Jon Husted win that? What bills did he vote on? I mean, it's just that's ridiculous. Harry Reid, the Democrat Senate Majority Leader from Nevada, now deceased, had an NRA A rating. John Kasich had an NRA A rating. Mike DeWine got the endorsement from the NRA. These John Eklund, Mike Haney, Stephanie Coons, all these Republicans that have sponsored gun control in Ohio, the same gun control bills we've had to fight hard to stop over the last decade, have all been Republican NRA endorsees. So that doesn't mean shit anymore. They've trampled that into the dirt. What else here? Sherrod Brown, a man for the people, not the party. Remember Larry Householder, says Terry Neville. So there's a pro-gun Democrat.
Yep.
Commenting on our Facebook page.
Pass on both. Neither. Go get him, Sherrod.
Look at this. Go get him, Sherrod. Yeah. Need you back in the Senate. Ohio is doomed, says Mark Price, because he's reading the tea leaves here. And this is just echoing what you said, Rob. Yeah. Husted is better than nothing. That's not a good sentiment. I choose Chris Dorr as the next governor of Ohio. Very funny.
I've said this before, but we live in a day and age where, we're totally done. People are just done with warm bodies, with bench warmers, with people that are just there to get along. This is the age where we have got to get things done. And we don't have the time or the patience to sit here and play patty cakes. We have got to do big, beautiful, bold things.
Absolutely.
And people are seeing that,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof, more like, but you can just feel it. There's no energy. It's because nothing big has been accomplished. People elect Republicans with the expectation that certain things are going to be done, that a certain worldview is going to be pushed to the forefront. But in reality, nothing of the sort has taken place. And that's, it's a disease that needs to be, cut out. I mean,
Excised.
yeah.
Yeah.
And people are not falling for it anymore. And we see that with, granted, this is not an official poll by any means, but you can kind of get a feel of the sentiment, being Ohio's largest gun rights, organization, what people that follow us have to think about this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We're definitely not known for being middle of the road milk
No.
toast. So it's I just think this all paints a very bleak picture. I didn't think there was any more comments in there that we had to really look at, but
appointed. Yeah. We haven't talked about that.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
For a
I mean,
second.
So Husted he didn't face the voters. He was appointed to the U.S. Senate. And let's face it, even the last time he was on the ballot, he was only because here in, obviously, as you all know, and here in Ohio, we don't vote for the governor and lieutenant governor separate. So they were listed together on the same ballot. And obviously DeWine's name was first. So, he's been on the ballot, but kind of in a secondary manner. He hasn't been front and center on the ballot in quite some time. So I think that could also be a problem for him. And his name ID. I mean, if you just think about just straight up name ID, I feel like the Brown name is so much more well known than
Definitely.
the Husted name.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because Brown delivers for his people.
Yes.
That's the perception that they have. Now, him delivering for his people means he's attacking the very moral foundations of America,
well, right.
And the things that built this country. So I want to be very clear here, folks. We're talking in descriptive terms, not prescriptive terms. We're just trying to get an accurate assessment of what this race looks like and the dangers that we face. But I couldn't agree. I couldn't echo what you said any harder. One of the comments in there that I just scrolled by, we don't vote for anything anymore. We vote against things.
I know, and that's the problem. And people are starting to feel it. I feel like people are finally starting to wake up.
To
the fact that we keep electing the same people, we keep doing the same. We keep doing the same song and dance and expecting anything different, and nothing changes.
Yeah. And like I said, the 18 to 25 to 30-year-old crowd, who they're going to have a different world than we grew up in. That's for dang sure. But they're just not buying this crap anymore. And we've been preaching against this milquetoast BS for a long time. That's why many state reps and state senators at the Ohio State House don't really care for us, because we demand that they use the political power that was given to them by the people during the elections to advance our gun rights. And this younger crowd especially applies that all the way across the board, as they should, as the other side does to their members of Congress or their members of the legislature. They expect them to go there and exercise what political will they have. And our side has been living like it's 1995, that it's just a real battle of a battle of ideas, and then it's all going to work out well in the end. And anybody who has opened a history book, and I know it's not very popular anymore, especially if you go through our school systems today, but anybody who looks at a history book and looks back, maybe just 100 years, will see very easily that sometimes things don't just all work out for the best at the end. For a minimum of 45, some people say it's up to 125 million people were murdered by their governments in the last 100 years. That's not working out very well. A lot of some of those people weren't just it's not like they're all lined up and shot. Sometimes the Bolsheviks, for example, starved millions and millions and dozens of millions of Christians in Ukraine and Russia, starve them to death through their communist policies. That's not a good way to die. I mean, I think a lot of those people would probably prefer a bullet to watching their children starve to death. But so my point here is that no, it's not just all going to always work out. And some people's ideas are in fact lethal and deadly if allowed to come to fruition or to implant or to enroot themselves in our culture so deeply that they start to affect everything.
And Chris,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, did you hear what Beto O'Rourke said over the weekend? Did you happen to see that clip?
I don't think
hear
so.
About it? He was like speaking to some crowd somewhere, but he and for those of you watching, Beto O'Rourke is the guy that he ran for Congress, U.S. Senate from Texas.
Yep.
And he was also the guy that infamously said, "Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15s, your AK-47s." Well, just over the weekend, I think the context of this was on the redistricting stuff that's going on
in Texas,
some other states. But he was basically saying, some people are saying, well, that's just not how we do things about this redistricting stuff. But he basically said, to hell with the rules. This is the time to basically exercise all the power that we can. And he got like just thundering applause from obviously a very left-wing audience. It's almost like these people.
That guy has a penchant for saying what the left actually believes out loud.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of like that.
Yeah. But it's just, we have to realize who we're up against.
Yes.
And, these are the people that are saying, to heck with your rules. We're just going to come in clean slate and force our tyranny, our agenda, our worldview, whatever, on you. And there's nothing you can do about it. If we get into power, you're toast. So that's why I just wanted to piggyback on that and about this is why we need to have boldness.
This is what this younger generation understands better than the other generations that are currently living. And that is, the left has only one single rule, and that is that there is no rule. There are no rules. The only thing that matters is achieving political power.
Yep.
And they are free to do whatever it takes to get that political power, which is why so many people are just stunned to watch what Donald Trump is doing right now. In many ways, he's just simply ripping pages right out of the Democrat playbook, and he's running them. He's just on our side doing it. So I fully support what Texas is doing down there, where they are redistricting. These people, the radical left, has been stealing the power of our votes by hauling in tens of millions of criminal illegals, and then they've been using those numbers for their redistricting operations that give them unwarranted and unjust power in Congress. So Donald Trump is like, hey, we're getting rid of these millions of people. That needs to be reflected in Congress. One of the biggest places where we're getting rid of these criminal illegals is there in Texas. So the Texas legislature, and Donald Trump called for this, Governor, is it Governor Abbott? Yeah.
Abbott. Yeah.
Governor Abbott has called the legislature back in to say we need to redistrict our state. And then so the Democrats, for those of you who aren't watching this, the Democrats, in order to prevent a quorum, to prevent the legislature from conducting business or doing this redistricting, the Democrats all left the state and went up to Illinois, where Governor Pritzker, the big prick himself, who owns that hotel chain, Democrat, absolute communist dude, was giving them all protection, right? Giving them hotels, and just basically hiding them so that they couldn't be forced to participate in these redistricting efforts down there in Texas. So, U.S. Senator down there, I don't even like to say his name because he's usually a sellout on guns, but John Cornyn enlisted the help of the FBI, which Trump gave the order to do, and the FBI is now tracking down these Democrats and basically arresting them and forcing them to return back down to the legislature in Austin for redistricting. The point here is that it is time to use that power and exercise those opportunities when they come along. Same thing's happening
100%.
right now in Missouri. They're redistricting. There's quite a few states that are redistricting right now, and we dang well better. Because if we don't, the other side will. And
not only will they already
yeah,
do.
exactly.
I mean, look at congressional districts in the state of Massachusetts, California, New York, Illinois. I mean, look at some of the districts in Illinois. I mean, they are just very squirrely looking districts, and they don't care. They'll complain till the cows come home about how the districts look in a state like here in Ohio, but the reality is they do these exact same things even to the nth degree in the states where they have full control, and they don't care at all.
Yeah.
So this is about using power, wielding it while you have the chance, knowing that we are, on the right in general, facing a pretty, could be a tough election year next year. So this is the time, this is the time to not sit on the benches. This is the time to get your rear end up and get to work.
Yeah.
And actually do some fighting for once, and not just being reactionary, and just going along and being button pushers. We're done with that crap.
Yeah, I'm so tired of button pushers. Check this one out. Check this out. Mark Paul says, handcuff them to each other. He's talking about Jon Husted and Sherrod Brown. Handcuff them to each other, put them into the octagon, and give each a knife. Put it on pay-per-view and give the proceeds to homeless veterans.
Wow.
Oh man, you'd have a lot of people tuning in. That's for daggum sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just see all this, like nobody is commenting, yeah, let's go with Jon Husted because he's done X, Y, and Z. We haven't seen one single comment like that.
Right. It's either, it's all about either Sherrod Brown sucking or they both suck.
Neither.
Yeah. Right.
There's problems here, folks. There's big problems here. And we will be, of course, surveying all of the candidates running. But like you said, Rob, it would be a good sign of humility that if Jon Husted would come out and apologize for being such a radical left proponent when it comes to gun control, and give people a reason to vote for him.
Agreed.
Instead of against Sherrod Brown. Can
you imagine if Jon Husted were to sign his name to something that said, yes, I will, if a bill reaches my desk about abolishing the ATF or repealing the NFA, I would vote for it in a heartbeat. And apologize for his past mistakes on gun control.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's a game changer right there. That's a game changer right there.
Yes, game changer. So anyway, we'll let you know as our efforts to get these people on record start to scale up here. We're already meeting with legislative candidates. We're meeting with judicial candidates, and we'll be definitely reaching out to all of these federal candidates who are running for Congress to get them all on record.
I just want to say something else here as we wrap things up. I know there's been a lot of doom, expressed here. Maybe not total doom, but the
warning signs.
Warning. We don't want this to be a doom and gloom session for next year, but there are definitely warning signs that we just want you to be aware of and prepared for, and hopefully give some guidance on, some things that we feel that these candidates could do to try to actually get people interested in voting for them and not against the other person. So, and I also want to say there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. So, in a couple months from now, this might be totally thrown out the window, but I think this is a pretty accurate picture of where we are.
Yeah, we wouldn't be hurt. The mobilized gun vote was critical in the 2024 elections.
Amen. Yes.
It played a massive role, huge role in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, and in North Carolina. It played a massive role in what happened in those states. And it is definitely going to be our number one focus in the fall elections next year, to be mobilizing that gun vote, because when gun owners turn out, we win. But It's hard to turn them out when
Yep.
there's people at the top of the ticket that are widely perceived as being quislings when it comes to the Second Amendment. And
Right.
for anybody who lived through the last 5 years during the lockdowns, that's something we didn't even talk about when it comes to Jon Husted. But he was just standing right there next to Lion Amy Acton the entire time as they took those tyrannical steps and locked everybody down and shut so many people's businesses down, and watched so many people lose their lives because of the reaction and the mandates as a result of the China virus. So
right. Terrible.
He's got a lot. He's got a lot of baggage. So
I know.
So anyway, thanks for watching this video, everybody. We'll be back with another one, hopefully in the near future. We like actually doing these, don't we, Rob?
Yeah, this has been fun.
Unscripted is kind of more fun than the scripted stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So. All right. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll be back with another one.